Hello everyone, and welcome back to Pens and Pen Blades. Today I have a open tag response to Thankful Thursday, and Thankful Thursday is a great open tag started by Singing Toad. And this Thankful Thursday is for Radio Geek Blades, because he sent me this knife right here. This is a Roper Tumbleweed. It's kind of a Sodbuster Jr. style knife slash like similar to the Buck 55 or 503 or maybe 501. So, with all that said, let's get into the video. Alright, first off, let's start with some measurements. I'll start with overall closed length. That is coming in at about 3.5 inches in length. So then let's take a look at the blade length here, which is coming in at about 2 7/8 inches in length. And then the overall cutting edge looks like it's coming in around 2.5 inches in length. And the overall length of the knife is coming in at about 6.5, I'm going to say 6.5 inches in length. So yeah, Radio Geek Blades threw this in as a gift in the traveling box of knives that I recently did some first impressions of. So it was very nice of him, and this is a really cool knife. I really like it. I'm a big fan of the Sodbuster Jr. style knives, or at least that shape, and buck knives too. I really like buck knives. I don't have many, but I really like buck knives, and this is very reminiscent of those two style knives. Now this is a lock back, and you have the lock right here. It closes like that with a good snap. It's a really nice pull, which is I really like for a lockback knife. If it was a slip joint, then I would prefer a little bit stronger of a pull, but for a locking knife, I really like an easier pull. Right there, nice and easy. I have not oiled this up at all, and it's not terrible. It's maybe a little gritty, so I maybe need to put some oil in there to fix that, but right out of the box, not too bad. We do have this interesting kind of pivot disc right there. I'm not exactly sure what to call that. And then we have the pins right there, which are all nice and flush on the handle, which is really nice. And then we have the Roper shield right there on the back of the knife, which is very interesting. Interesting how they did it back there. Oh, there's also just remember, there's also a Baron Sun knife that's very similar to this one as well. They kind of have the Sodbuster Jr. style lockback buck knife as well, very similar to this. So yeah, it's another one of those, which this type of knife, I think it works. It's just a really nice, comfortable knife, just a good neutral handle. That curve just fits your hand really well. So maybe someone with bigger hands might be off the back a little bit there, but for me, it gives me a really good purchase, and you can kind of come up on that choil too, which is very nice. We have a nail nick right there on the blade. This is I would call this a drop point style blade with a full flat grind on it right there. Then we have the Roper mark right there on the blade. And then back here we have stainless steel. There is also a carbon steel version I've seen out there, which is a little bit more expensive than this model. Then we have the model number right there, an RP0032YDC, and then, hang on, let me pull it back. PRG or PRC below that, I'm not exactly sure, I can't quite make it out. I think it's PRG right there. So that's the tang stamp. We do have brass liners on this knife, on this knife there. A little bit of gapping right there, but that's not too bad. This is more of a budget knife, so a little bit of gapping isn't too bad. And especially on a lockback knife, I'm not going to be as picky as a slip joint with a little bit of gapping. We do have a little bit of stepping on the lock, but that's not too bad. It doesn't create a hot spot or anything. It's still comfortable in the hand. Just a little minor thing. And then there's the inside of the liners. Nothing really dirty in there. I haven't needed to clean anything out. So another look at the overall knife there. And then let's take a look at that grind, which is pretty good. Went a little heavy on the tip, but not too bad. Yeah, kind of rounded over the tip just slightly, so that's a little... That could have been better, but it's not terrible. This is still a perfectly usable knife. Let's take a look at the blade centering, which isn't perfect. It's a little bit over to the side. I think I can kind of push it over actually to kind of center it better. But yeah, no rubbing though, so still good. And it actually looks a little bit worse if you look at... There we go. It kind of depends on the angle. It's not too bad on the blade centering there. And those cream Delrin handles, which I really like. So I know some people don't quite like it, but I like the look of that. It kind of just reminds me of just an old style knife, like a grandpa knife. So just I like the look of it. It just kind of gives it an old timey feel. And this is definitely a knife that I'm going to get a lot of use out of this knife. I really like this style of knife. And I only have one Sodbuster Jr., so it was nice to kind of have another knife that was a similar pattern, because I wouldn't really call it a Sodbuster Jr. because, well, one, it's not a case knife, and it is a lockback, so but it's in the same vein as a Sodbuster Jr. But also, let me do a quick, I'm not going to do an in-depth comparison here, but I'll just kind of set these two side by side so you can kind of take a look at how these are similar, and there's just slight difference in the handle shapes there, but very, very similar. I might do an in-depth review on both of these, kind of take a closer look at the difference someday. There's just kind of a quick side-by-side look at these two knives. Looks like the Sodbuster Jr. has a little bit more of a downward cant to the blade. It's very interesting. But yeah, and then there's also definitely a wide variety, or wide variation in prices between these two. This is around like a 40 to, well, this particular knife with the bone is around 60, I believe. I think it was 59 is what I paid for this one. And then this one's going to be around the 10 to like 20 range. But still, both really great knives. And this one, I know I'm definitely going to get a lot of use out of this knife. It's going to be a good working knife. And yeah. Oh, and before I forget, here is the box of the, well, it's a package. Here's the packaging of the knife right there. And if you want to read any of that, just pause the video. I don't know if they say, I don't think they say what stainless steel they use, so it's just stainless. There's the packaging. Yeah, I don't really like, I'm not a big fan of these style of packagings, but I'm not going to complain too much about that, because this one was actually pretty easy to slice into. But normally, or sometimes these can be just a little tricky to get into. Oh, and also, we can do, I forgot to do a test on the edge, and it did come sharp, and I'm having trouble getting around the tripod here. But yeah, this knife did come sharp right out of the box, which is very nice. I like it when a knife comes sharp out of the box, and a knife should come sharp out of the box. At least decently sharp, and this has a pretty good edge on it. Definitely good enough just to grab and use out of the box. Could definitely touch it up a little bit, but still a really good edge, especially for the price of the knife. But yeah, I really, really like this knife. I'm so thankful that Radio Geek Blades gifted it to me. And if you haven't already, go check out Singing Toad and Radio Geek Blades YouTube channels. They're both really great guys, and they have a lot of great content over there. And subscribe if you haven't done that so already. And I'm trying to think, do I have anything else to say about this knife? Other than I've really enjoyed carrying it so far, and I know I will get a lot more use out of it in the future. Just a really good, solid everyday use knife. I don't really know what else to say. But I think that's going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Keep your pens filled and your knife sharp, and I'll see you later.